And so welcome back to basic UV mapping. What I got here in this little scene is a little robot that I built. I've laid out his UVs. You can see that each of the UVs are here. Arms, body, head and weapon. If I select them all, they're all nicely laid out with a unique UV space. And I just wanted to show you how you can manipulate these UVs just to give you a more cohesive look on your models. This will really help when you start drawing textures and your textures have to cross different edges for different visual planes. And what I mean by that is if I select this arm, you can see that I've got the front, the arm here, denoted by that 09 there. I've got the back of the arm, which has got the 07. I've got this 08 here. And you can see that obviously there's the internal part there. It's got the 06 and then D6, which is in there. But what's really catching my eye is the fact that this E07 is getting cut off, where in fact it should be coming around nicely and touching, or at least joining up with this part of the arm. So what I can do is a method of moving each of the polygon faces so that they form a more unique UV shell, so that when I export this to Photoshop I have a better and easier time drawing the texture. So what I can do is select that side. I'm going to say face. In fact, no, I'm not going to say. I'm going to come into the UV editor. I'm going to right click on it and say edge, and I'm just going to select this edge. And you can see that when I select it, it shows where it's being shared, and that edge is obviously being shared there because it's both been highlighted. If I select this one, it's been shared there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move these so that I can make better sense of this. So if I say move UV shell, put this over here, I'm going to put this one over here. You can see already the colors are matching. If I say edge, select it. Sorry, actually, there we go. Edge, select it. See that those two edges are related. And what I can do is come up to this tool that says move and sew, and it moves and sews. And you can see that now E08 extends nicely around to E09, and there's no visible seam because this texture and these grid lines go across here. You can see that there is a visible seam there because this edge, these edges are not joined. So if I just do Control Z and I'm going to do Shift, select it, and then move and sew, it tries to do its best to move and sew those together. Unfortunately, you see that this has got some distortion, so I'm probably going to only be able to get away with sewing, moving and sewing that lower part. I could probably get away with this part here, so if I do those, move and sew, yeah, that worked. Distortion is not too bad there. Select those two and say move and sew. There you go. I've got a bit of a bad distortion there. And what I can do is if I say UVs, come in here. If I hit scale, that just straightens it out. Just scale that out. Okay. Fortunately, this side, which is the off side, or the inner part of the arm, is this part over here, and the only place I can really attach that is if I said edge, attach it to there, or edge, attach it here. And because of the way it's laid out, I would have to flip that. So if I select those UVs, I can come up here to the flip UVs on the V direction, hit W, just move it into place and say edge, move and sew, and that stitches that in there. And there you can see I've got the arm nicely laid out, nicely unwrapped, just by using the move and sew command. If I zoom in, you can see that I have got some distortion here on the F9. I'm going to try and see if I can just correct that. And you can just do this by hitting the scale. Might be able to select that all, and you see it's a very fine balancing act between the two. In fact, I'll see if I can actually select those. No. Yeah, it's a very fine balancing act. Sometimes you do have to make a judgment call as to how you will draw the texture and how it will work. Because obviously I've got a distortion there. One thing I could do to alleviate that is if I said object, split polygon tool, split, hold down shift, split, hit enter, see if that distorts it. No, let's try it the other way. Split polygon tool, this might be able to turn the edge for me. There we go. So by splitting the polygon, that distortion has allowed me to straighten up that side. I can do the same thing here. It's just a nice little trick that allows your UVs look a little bit more cleaner. There we go. Okay. Now, if I want to cut these UVs, like cut some of these faces away, like this inside face here, if I just do face, if I want to cut those two faces away, I can actually split it along this edge. So if I say edge, I can either select it in here or in here. Select it in here, edge. If you come up to the scissor tool and say separate along the UVs, and then if I hit W and then say face and select those two faces, I can either say move UV shell, that moves it away, and they're now separate again. Okay. And then if I want to reassign them together, set that edge, move and sew. Okay. So that's just some of the techniques there that you can use for when you're doing cleanup in UVs. And I can do the same for this other arm, because you can see it's all disparate pieces. It's not nicely wrapped around like that one. So again, you can come in here, edge, select those edges, and you can do more than one. And I'm going to say move and sew. See if I can select those edges, move and sew. It's a little bit distorted, so UV might be a little bit harder to do this one, so scale it in. Right, select them all. Scale in. I think it's actually, that's the internal side. This is the external side, so I might have to undo that. If I select those edges, there we go. And if you do move and sew and it's not flipped as that one is, it will overlap. So if I was to do move and sew, I'd have a situation here that if I do shaded UV, you can see where it's red and blue, shows that there's basically they're overlapping. So what I need to do is take that UV shell, flip it, there you go, edge, move and sew, that's better. Take that UV shell, flip it, edge, move and sew, and then it's just a question of matching this bottom piece. I'm going to just do face, and again I need to cut that, so I can say edge, select that one, use the scissors, then I'm going to see if I can do a move and sew. No, I have to actually move that away first, and at this point I can either flip vertical and then just do edge, move and sew, and there we go. And it's a question of just pulling in those two. Let's do move and sew, and just like I did on the other side, if I select it, do edges and do split polygon, that just adjusts the edge flow, makes it a little bit better, and then it's just some UV work I can do here. Just scale those out a bit. There we go. That brings those edges in line. It's a little bit more cohesive. There we go. And then if you want to do the same like I did with the other one, where I had the inside faces here, down below, if I say face, select those faces, flip them, then edge, move and sew, and yeah, it looks like I've got some faces there and it needs to be sewn. And then this one I can actually put to the top, move and sew. And there you can see it's the other side is done. And for any kind of distorted UVs, just go in, hit scale, you can just straighten them up. There you go. So that one there. It's a little bit crooked on the outside, so and there you go. So now if I just zoom out, go object mode, select it. See, I've got one face there, just there's a couple of faces overlapping, so move UV shell, move that to there, move that one to there, oops, hit W, move it to there. Some are reversed, so that's why they're red. So what we need to do is just say face. I select all the ones and I can just say flip horizontal. It's just a question of move UV shells, you just position them. Oops, that one I didn't want to move. So I wanted to move this one. So here we go. Put those in the right position. And you can see even with these, you've got a situation where these are not sewn. So let's just do edge, select those and sew those together. And UVs. Wow, there's quite a few that aren't sewn. So I'm just going to put those. And what I can do is I'm going to just go through. In fact, you can also say vertex, sorry, UVs. If you say UV, select all those UVs there, you can say, well, this is a nice situation because instead of wanting to say move and sew, I just want to sew them. So you can just say sew selected edges or UV. So if you just do that, that just links them all together. So when I do move UV shell, they all go as one. There you go. Let's put that one back into position. And put that one back into position. And then this one, last but not least, into position and ready to rock and roll. Okay. Just like that. So that concludes UV mapping, UV edge sewing, manipulation, and the different mapping gizmo and mapping techniques. Last but not least, you might want to spit out this UV layout so that you can create a texture map. So what you do is you just say create, right click UVs and say polygon UV snapshot. So like we did before, select a destination. I'm going to leave it in, go to textures. I'm going to say test UV. This one I'm going to make, let's make it 512 by 512. I'm going to make it a TGA format or target. Okay. And that now renders that one out as a wireframe. And just to show you where that wireframe is, just going to go and find you that wireframe just to show that it did save it out. There you go, and that's the wireframe saved out. Okay. Okay. So can do the same for the other robots. If I just say display show all, so say it's here we go. So obviously with the other robots I'll go through and do a similar thing just to clean up the UVs, make sure that they're all flipped the right way. As you can see I've got some reverse parts there. So like for these UV shells I just go in, flip them, there you go. Oops. Okay.